So we're back in with another news update video for Marvel's Avengers. There's been a lot that's actually been going on with the game recently. I've not actually covered much of it, but I have been doing a lot of different videos in the background. That's both for Marvel's Avengers and actually Marvel Future Revolution as well. So I have been working away as much as I've not been covering news that much that's been coming out. But for this one here, it was one that definitely interested me, and it sparked a bit of a conversation on the Discord as well in regards to whether or not it's actually a positive or negative change. So hopefully it will be an interesting video, but it's all about a new blog post that went out. Blog post gives us some details on new enemies coming to the game, as well as 2 status effects. And as mentioned, the opinion on my Discord was very much divided on this, but let's actually jump in and we'll bring up the blog and we'll work our way through it. So we'll skip the first paragraph here. It's just the combat designer actually really introducing himself and letting us know about the new enemies. They're called the Claw Company Private Mercenaries. So just to start off with the second paragraph then. So when designing this faction of enemies, we knew that we wanted to work on 2 new status effects. This got me really excited when I initially read it, but I think I'm possibly a bit disappointed with how they're actually implementing them. But it's 2 new status effects they're introducing with Wakanda, Sonic and Vibranium. So in an effort to make the new Sonic Vibranium gear more unique and meaningful, so I think this will potentially be a perk that drops in gear. It's not explicitly clear yet, but they state to make it more unique and meaningful, they decided to incorporate weaknesses to these new status effects across the roster. So as you encounter the Claw Company mercs, you'll find that some of them are corrupted Vibranium themed and others are Sonic themed. In this post I'll give you an example of each of these, starting with the Bruiser. You can see them here, they do look pretty awesome, that big hammer. So the Bruiser is a large axe-wielding brute that hits hard with relentless attacks. Like all corrupted Vibranium mercs, he can become overcharged with unstable corrupted Vibranium energy if he lands a certain number of successful hits. That mechanic on an enemy I actually really like. I'm a massive fan of that. But let's check out the next page here. So you can actually see here how an enemy looks when they are overcharged. I think this visual was probably designed by the same person that made the visual for the Jarvis barrier. It's a little bit overbearing, but at least you'll be able to see these enemies from far away and know that you need to be careful around them. So with this here, when an enemy is overcharged, they take reduced damage and hit reactions are downgraded but not ignored. Like with overshields, that's when we've got the blue shield status effect over them. The overcharged state also unlocks special attacks for these enemies that they can't otherwise perform. That's absolutely amazing. I really do love that from a gameplay perspective. That's absolutely awesome. Now, once an enemy is overcharged, they'll stay that way until they're defeated unless you have Sonic gear, and this is where things fall apart a little bit for me. I loved the status of the enemy chains with overcharging and getting new abilities and so on, but I don't think I'm a fan of this bit here at all. So just to confirm then, so it says they'll stay that way until they're defeated unless you have Sonic gear. So Sonic attacks will bypass the damage dampening properties of overcharge, and triggering the Sonic status effect will dispel the overcharged state. So when I heard we were getting new status effects at the top of the blog, I was looking forward to something really pretty interesting. But the way they're actually explaining this at the moment, and this is something I actually heard recently in a video and it kind of sums it up perfectly, is they're creating a problem to then provide the solution straight away afterwards. So what they've done is they've brought in this new status, which is an awesome status, I will definitely say that, but then they're forcing us to use a new status effect whose only purpose, as far as we can actually tell here, is to dispel that status. So I'm just not a fan of that much at all. Like providing a buff to an enemy and then providing a direct debuff that you can actually do to cleanse it and forcing you to use that specific gear, all depends to an extent, I suppose, how this actually drops in gear. But if this is another status effect, that it's not an additional perk or anything like that, but if it's something else in gear we need to find alongside your damage buff, alongside your tachyon and your battery effect, it's going to make farming gear even worse, unless of course you can potentially just ignore the overcharged status effect and try and just take out the enemy without the Sonic gear. But yeah, that's the Sonic status effect. So let's move on to the next page here. So we have another new enemy type here, and like the last one, what the enemy actually does, status effects aside, is really great, and I really do like it. It's certainly a lot more than just your standard robots. So next up we have the Strategist, a support enemy who commands small disc-like drones around the battlefield to buff other Claw Company mercs and debuff heroes. So absolutely love that. Debuff heroes part is actually interesting. I didn't pay too much attention to that first time I read the blog, but that could be really interesting. I wonder if they'll be able to like remove or damage buff and stuff like that. Yeah, that could be interesting. But carrying on here, these drones will orbit around their target and can be shot down with ranged attacks. The Strategist prefers to stick to the sidelines, but they do have some attacks at their disposal, however they need their drones to perform them. So if all drones are currently deployed or destroyed, they will use their only defence, and that will be the Sonic aura. So let's jump on to the next page to find out some information on that. So the Sonic aura then is an ability that our Sonic themed mercenaries can use when they feel threatened. While active, it behaves like a shield that will deflect projectiles. I'm curious when the projectiles are deflected if they actually do damage to you. Like, will you be able to one-shot yourself potentially if you're doing a bag of tricks on one of them and they deflect them back to you? It says they'll also block melee attacks, and then they fire off a reactive Sonic wave attack in response. It can only stay active for a short period of time and then has a long cooldown period. Again, like the overcharge mechanic, this is absolutely awesome. I really do love it. So it states here, however, if you have Vibranium gear, so this is the Vibranium status effect, you can use attacks with Vibranium status on them to bypass the aura and even dispel it if you trigger the Vibranium status effect in them. It's just really boring for a status effect to be a direct counter to something they've just brought in. So brand new status effect, direct counter to something they've just brought in. It just doesn't do it for me. But again, there was a lot of debate about this on the Discord, so do definitely let me know what you think in the comments below. But moving on to the next paragraph, there are more new enemy types coming in the expansion, but I'll stop there to save you some surprises for launch. I hope you enjoyed this peek into some of the new threats that await you in the War for Wakanda expansion. Thanks for reading, and I look forward to seeing all your reactions to the new enemies. So once again, this has driven a lot of conversation on my Discord. Initially when I seen there was 2 new status effects, I've mentioned it already, but I was really excited. But I think they're really underwhelming in how they're working. They're essentially just cleanse status effects in a way. But I will mention once more, I really do like what they're doing with the enemies, status effects aside. And yeah, let me know in the comments below what you actually think of them. Now, just to actually finish up the video, something that was announced yesterday that I've not covered, I'm going to quickly jump in and do that now. So yesterday then we got some information on the war table that's coming next Monday. So it's actually going to be a 2-hour show. It will be on Twitch. It's at 10 AM Pacific time. It'll be with Greg Muller and Sandra Sad. They will be debuting the war table for War for Wakanda, so we'll see that. They're then going to play the first 2 missions of the game, and then they're going to show off a max level Black Panther and Harm Room as well. So what I'll look to do, as I always do with the streams, I'll actually condense all the important information into smaller videos, and then I'll put them out on the channel if you don't perhaps have 2 hours to watch the entire stream. So I'll look to do that on Monday, and then Tuesday all hell's going to get let loose when War for Wakanda comes out. I don't know where I'm going to start in regards to content, but I do have some things lined up for you that will come out in that day that I've been prepping over the last few weeks. But yeah, that's everything. That's all the most recent news. So this video, the main reason I've done it with it just being a news video was all the conversation that was getting driven around it. So I really am curious on your thoughts on these status effects, if they're good or they're bad, or if you're indifferent to them, or if you're maybe waiting until you actually try them in game. That's probably the most sensible thing to do, to be honest, but it's a bit boring to do that as well. It's always nice to speculate and perhaps be right or be wrong. But let me know in the comments below, and thanks for tuning in. Stay safe. See you all again soon.